Help the Indian. Save the man. That was the motto where my grandmother went to school. Though school was just a word for people to hide behind, including my grandmother. Teachers would come through town after dark. At first, they would try to lure children away with costumes and music, puppies. But when fishing didn't work, they turned to hunting. My grandmother was abducted. She had her clothes stripped, burned, buried. She was whipped and beaten for offenses such as eating like a savage and not thinking in English. My grandmother, a woman who later survived a lynching, said that having her ponytail cut off by a white man was the single most painful experience of her life. My mother always said she was exaggerating, but now I see what she meant. Separation is a brutality.
You must be a beater.
Sorry, what?
Maybe you're more seeker? What position do you play? Quidditch.
What's Quidditch?
Quidditch? Harry Potter? Wizard sports? Flying broomsticks? Except these ones don't actually fly, just pretend.
Oh wow, that must be the whitest thing I've ever heard.
Wait till you see my sim khakis. You freshman?
No, grad student.
Oh, that makes sense. Sorry to bother you, I'm just trying to
Can anyone play?
When I found out where Díana was from, it felt like I met a fairy or something. Like, it felt like she knew more about the world and life than I could ever understand. Like, I've been living in this tiny little octave, and suddenly here was someone who knew every note. When I talked to her, it was like talking to the parts of us that weren't putting holes in the atmosphere or filling the oceans with plastic. The world felt lighter. This is all to say, of course I was going to date her.
There's a saying where I'm from, stay with your own. Kevin was about as far away from that as I could get. He wore running shoes to the movies. He had a favorite brand of water. And somehow he managed to turn ordering coffee into an entire conversation. It was fun. It was different. It felt like I was dating some character from some old movie I'd seen. I remember torturing him anytime he tried to talk about
Native Americans, American Indians, indigenous people, First Nationers.
Where did this come from?
Oh, it was in the closet.
Did you buy it?
No, it's in the closet.
Because I bought it and put it there.
I used it.
Without asking me.
It's just wrapping paper.
That doesn't belong to you.
Hey, I'll pay you back.
It was my wrapping paper.
In our closet.
Why didn't you just buy your own?
Because there was some right there. Are we seriously going crazy over some wrapping paper right now?
What time are you leaving?
Hey, look, if we're gonna live together, we gotta live together, okay? This is how it works. What's mine is yours, and vice versa.
When a scorpion realizes it's trapped, it'll kill itself.
That's actually not true. Scorpions are immune to their own venom.
My mother never went further from our house than she could walk back from before it got dark, so as she got older, her world got smaller and smaller until all she had left in it was me. Staying there, you see what happens to a person when their world slowly shrinks around them, stinging themselves, immune to their own venom. So I ran to the furthest place I could.
Thanksgiving at the Schuster household is a little intense. Every family has their own traditions, but ours are, well, it's like for one day of the year, Our dining room is the center of the universe. Guys wear ties, girls wear pearls. My mother even said Díana could borrow a set from her. And you have to bring a dish. 2 words. Candy.
I can go.
What?
I guess it started with the little things. Questions I'd never really asked myself. What are the traditional dishes where you're from? What do you mean you don't know how to cook them? What does your name mean? What do you mean you don't really know?
Are you protesting this weekend?
What are they protesting?
The pipeline.
I go. I see another native there. We recognize each other instantly through the crowd. He greets me with a word I know means hello, but only from the context. You don't know your own language. I see an anger in him, an anger I saw in my mother, in my grandmother. The same anger I ran away from rather than tried to understand. They want our land. They can't kill us anymore, so they're trying to dilute our blood until there's none of us left to defend our land. He uses more words I've never heard before. Judge Bolt, 1491, blood quantums. It all seems so important. Why have I never heard any of this before?
What do you mean you can't go?
See, the only time you need to know your blood quantum is if you're a dog, a horse, or a Native American. Because the land, it's protected by treaties, and by living there, the natives protect the treaties. But if you can't prove you're native, then you can't protect the land. Have you ever had to prove your own race before?
What has gotten into you?
It's called the one-drop rule. 1 drop of native blood was enough to massacre and push us off our land. But now, when the time comes to reclaim our land, the rule no longer applies. Instead, we need more than 1 drop to prove our race to the government who stole our land and our lives.
Babe, come on.
Why my mother never left. Blood. Soil.
Díana.
She was protecting it. For me. I can't go.
Come on, this isn't some lame karaoke night. This is Thanksgiving, and to be honest, it's a pretty big deal that you're invited.
I'm not going.
Seriously, isn't this supposed to be the whole spirit of the day? Our people coming together?
What do you think happened on Thanksgiving?
You know what I mean.
You really think that my people sat down with your people, put aside our differences for some candied
No,
yam?
obviously not.
You get what would have happened to me if I turned up to Thanksgiving 100 years ago, right?
Come on.
This holiday is erasing history, our history. You do know what happened, right? What really happened?
It's not about that. It's about family. It's about
You are
coming together.
standing on a mountain of bodies, brown bodies, and you want me to enjoy the view?
Don't you see what I'm offering you? Danny didn't make Thanksgiving that year. Or the next year. Things didn't really turn out after she...
I left. I had to. Kevin was just looking for a way to end the story he didn't really want to hear the beginning of. I was just an exotic animal to mount above the fireplace. Something to show off at parties. A people's saved.
I saw her on TV a few years later at some protest. Feathers in her hair. They were putting her in handcuffs. I don't really know what for. She looked so different.
Leaving my home sent me into shock. But when I returned, I saw the wounds it had left on me. I saw what the past had tried to tell me. My mother, my grandmother. I finally listened to my blood. I saw who I had to become. Because what I had seen as anger was so much more. It was brutal fucking outrage.